lifestyle, wanting to make more fresh stuff for themselves. So often when people get into raw food, they think broccoli or carrots, you know, or like they listen to you like say like, yeah, I'm a raw foodist, and they just imagine this really, really boring, horrible way of eating, right? And I like to make things lots of fun. You know, Mother Nature is the best chef out there, bar none. I always like to put that out there and give homage to the best chef. If the peaches are perfect, like you guys have been eating, you cannot improve on a perfect peach. But you can have a lot of fun and mix some of her bounty together to make some amazing cuisine. We're going to go over a few tips, tricks, and techniques to find ease in the kitchen, to find more play in the kitchen. We're also going to make one of my absolute favorite dishes ever. I have had times where I made this 5 days a week for dinner, sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's probably one of my most common meals, some of my most common favorite ingredients, some of the most nutritious ingredients, really, really delicious, really simple, well food combined. I'm going to give you two options. We can make it simple and hygienic. Who here is fond of hygiene and likes to keep things really simple? So I'm going to show you how you can do it that way, and then I'm going to show you how you can kick it up a notch if you like, because it's all about meeting you where you're at, not where I'm at, and being like, this is how you do it, right? So you have different ways of doing it. So this recipe is kind of one of those one-pot meals where you can just eat a giant pot like this. I often make almost this much for myself. I'm in fact probably making a reasonable one-size-fits Banana Commander meal here. My name is the Banana Commander. You know, I have the banana mustache and all that fun stuff, right? So this is going to be about the size of meal I would make myself. There should be enough for everyone to maybe get a scoop. I will mention right off the bat, I have a bunch of raw recipes. I have a free iPhone app. If you have an iPhone, the Raw Advantage is where you find everything. A lot of my stuff is by donation. Some of the stuff is free, and then other of it is a little more premium. But we'll jump right into the recipe. So what we got here is some of these delicious donut peaches, right? They're really sweet. I like really sweet ingredients for this, especially with the fruit aspect. So really sweet peaches. You could also use really sweet nectarines. You could also use really nice and sweet mangoes. If mangoes are out of season, you can use frozen mangoes. You could use persimmons. It's a little on the edge of the food combining kind of chart there. So I generally like mangoes or sweet peaches. We have tomatoes, almost in equal amounts, a slight bit more tomato than the peach. This is a sliding recipe. If you like it really sweet, more of the sweet fruit. If you like it more savory, more of the tomato. So you can really play with it and have fun depending upon your tastes and what's going on. Tomatoes are one of my #1 favorite foods in the world. The trick to a delicious sauce, it's all about the sauce. The trick to a delicious sauce is use delicious ingredients. Make sure they're really tasty. I have disclaimers on all of my recipe books that say, if you make this recipe and it's not good, it's not my fault. The produce probably wasn't good, right? Because you want to play in the kitchen, you want to taste it, you want to make sure that you're finding that flavor balance, which we'll get a little bit more into. Here we have the zucchini. I already cut one zucchini up, so you didn't have to painfully watch me sweating and cutting a zucchini in front of you. So we have one zucchini here. If you are looking for the hygienic version of the recipe, which I'll go over first, I have some arugula here. This gives a little bit of the bitter, pungent flavor that rounds out the 5 flavors. If you're not necessarily strictly hygienic, we have green onion, which you can use as well or in lieu of the arugula. We have cilantro. Who loves cilantro? I love cilantro. I'm a freak. Does anyone here not like cilantro? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Do you guys know that if you like or do not like cilantro, it's a genetic trait? It's kind of fun, right? Coriander, yes, same coriander. So you have one gene turned on or off. I can't remember if it's the one or the other. You just hate cilantro and think it tastes like soap. So I really feel bad for you. We also here have bok choy or pak choy, one of the most nutritious greens out there, really high in calcium and in protein and vitamin delicious, and you know, I really like this stuff. It's one of my favorites. Go to, really high in sodium. The stem is really juicy. So last but not least, if you want to go crazy, I have a hot pepper. Sometimes I put some hot peppers. It's the contraband of the hygienic movement, but I'm sometimes bad at that hot pepper. So what we're going to do is start by filling up our bowl. You know, they say you don't make friends a salad. This is a little bit more of a flavor punch than a salad. Instead of having all these ingredients up to here, we condense it into a partial blended salad or a stew, and that way you're getting way more flavor in a smaller area, so you have to chew less. You know, it makes it a little bit easier, especially if you're talking a bunch. So we have the Vitamix blender. I highly recommend a Vitamix or any other blender that has a tamper. The tamper really is integral in this recipe. So what we're going to do is I already cut off the top third of lots of these tomatoes. So no matter what kind of tomatoes you're using, you chop off the top third or so. With the stem end. Oh, look how beautiful that is, hey? Photo op. No, I'm just joking. So beautiful, beautiful tomatoes. So what we'll do is put a bunch of these tomatoes in the blender. Oh. These are Roma tomatoes over here, which are really delicious and thick, mealy tomatoes, make great sauces. Any tomatoes will work, whatever tomatoes are your favorite. We have here just a regular kind of cluster tomato, a little bit of a mix. Sometimes I make this with heirlooms. If you're making with heirlooms, get ready to cry. Good heirlooms and good mangoes, oh, it's like the best thing ever. A lot of times, in this portion here, the chopped bits, right? We have the zucchini so far. I like to put some grape or cherry tomatoes, you know? So we have one just as a demo, so there we go. Whoever gets that is extra special. So here's the top of that other tomato. We're gonna put that in here. Who here likes big chunks? Hands up for big chunks. Who likes little chunks? Who likes medium chunks? Who doesn't like chunks at all? Alright, so I like big chunks. Some people like little chunks, so I'm gonna make medium chunks here. You know, you get to make the size of chunks you like, but this is a nice, gentle, rough chop. I kind of like to have so much stuff in my mouth that like I look absurd, you know? It's just a lot funner that way. If you can fit one of everything in your mouth, that's a good thing. So it's kind of funny, all these tables are so low, I gotta get into Warrior 2. You know? But it's good because I'm multitasking. I didn't get my yoga in this morning, so. I do have a yoga class tomorrow morning if anyone wants to join me for some Kundalini yoga. Should be lots of fun. A little bit of a mixture between Tibetan rites, Kundalini yoga, martial arts, and a bunch of silliness. 8 o'clock. I think you'll be inside unless the ground is really dry. We'll see. You can also, if you like, use some sun-dried tomato in the broth if you want it to be even more salty. You know, the trick to a great sauce is really utilizing the 5 main flavors. Does everyone here know all the 5 different flavors? Feel free to shout out one if you know it.
Umami.
Umami, oh man, that's my favorite one. Umami. Does anyone know what umami is? Yeah? Yeah? So umami, if you don't know, it's kind of like that missing flavor. It's like a really earthy, salty, kind of rich flavor that just makes things go pop. It's often in Chinese cuisine utilized or exemplified with MSG. Now, a beautiful thing is that's monosodium glutamate. Tomatoes have 3 glutamates, which gives you that kind of umami, really salty and earthy flavor. Mushrooms also have them. Sun-dried tomatoes, of course, and then other kind of animal products and stuff, cheeses and stuff, have that kind of umami flavor. Ubashi, I can't pronounce that right. The plums in Japanese cuisine are said to have that as well. But that's a really good flavor. We're having some of that in here. Let's see another one. Sweet, right? Sweet, umami. Salty, yeah. The tomatoes cover that too, and the bok choy covers that. So salty. What's another one? Bitter. That's a great one. We have the arugula, or we have the green onion for some bitter. What's another one?
Sour.
Sour. There we go. So, you know, when we're looking, oh my, this is leaking. When we're looking at any perfect piece of fruit, usually it has all of those 5 flavors represented. Sometimes it only has 4 of the 5, and sometimes kind of like the 4th and 5th merge a bit, but you get the peach here. The skin sometimes can have a little bit of a bitter sour, and the inside's really sweet. Maybe it doesn't have too much savory, but it might have just that slightest hint. And if you're making sauces, if you find that balance point between all those 5 flavors and look to represent them by some different fresh food groups that really bring out that natural pop in the dish, kind of brings it into a mother's nature's balance. But just like fruits, you know, there's a predominant flavor. So you look to find your predominant flavors and then flavor pair with a whole bunch of the ingredients to make sure that you get the desired effect. So this is really a focus on sweet and savory. So we really want it to be sweet and salty. The sweetness from, if tomatoes are really, really good quality, they can be nice and sweet. The peach is nice and sweet. The bok choy, as well as the tomatoes, nice and savory. So we're really bringing that balance out. As mentioned, the arugula or the onions can be the bitter potent part. And the only thing that isn't really hugely brought in is the sour, but the tomatoes can have a little bit of a sour aspect. So we have this zucchini here. I just cut it into 3 kind of planks, lay it on its side, and bring about 3 strips in there. It'd be nice if I had one of those giant, like, you know, mirrors like this. I don't know, that might be weird. Anyone wish I had a weird giant mirror here? Yeah? Yeah, I'm sorry. Next time I'll bring one of those in my handbag. See if I can bring that out. Alright, so I'm chopping up some medium chunks. Amazingly, once I get this done, this recipe is just going to fly by. You're going to be like, whoa, where'd the time go? Alright, so we have that in there. And now the beautiful bok choy. Bok choy is by far one of my favorite greens ever. What we're going to be utilizing mostly is the stem. So if we want, we can cut off or just rip off all the green portion. The greens we're just going to throw in the bin. You know, we don't want those. I'm joking, we're using the greens, don't worry. I'm not that silly. I'm only like 3/4 silly. That'd be like 100% silly. You know? So we're gonna get all these greens off. The greens, you know, different types of bok choy can be different potencies. Have you guys ever had bok choy that's really spicy, like got that crazy, almost a radishy bite to it? I love that kind of bok choy. But then you get some that's really mild, really good. Usually I find too, bok choy is less expensive than most other greens, which is kind of a blessing, depending upon where you are. I'm not sure. Out here, is it medium price or expensive?
Medium.
So expensive and medium. All right, so we're going to take off, I like to say the bums. I shouldn't say that too much, but I like the bottoms of the vegetables. I call them the bums. And I usually put them in the sauces. That way also the sauce itself is getting some of the savoriness and some of the bitter aspects of the bok choy. A lot of times you can get those giant, really big bok choy bits, or big bok choys, which sometimes are a little bit milder. These littler guys sometimes have a bit more of a bite to them. So I'm just going to throw all the bums in there. I think I'm missing a bum. Alright. And you can just stack these guys up. Make a couple bok choy stacks. Cut some of these in half. And just do a couple strips. We'll just rough chop all this bok choy. If anyone has a favorite yoga pose, you can just shout it out and I'll see if I can do that yoga pose while we're making this food. That would be really difficult.
Eagle.
Eagle? Oh gosh, can you perform the eagle for me? Just remind me how to do that eagle pose.
Twistle your legs.
Oh gosh, so you want me to be balancing. This isn't gonna happen. Okay, I'm just gonna focus on cutting stuff and see how it goes from there. Now, bok choy stem is similar to celery in its sodium content, but it's a lot more tender. It doesn't have those little stringies. I tend to favor it myself in terms of savory dishes, and in terms of sweet dishes, I prefer celery. You know, like celery and dates is pretty darn nice, but celery and bok choy is bok choy and dates is my favorite. Plus, they just make the perfect spoons ever. You know, you can just like have a bunch of spoons. Boy, bok choy, you really make me a happy kid. All right, if I could have the help of one happy volunteer. Who wants to be a happy volunteer? Oh, there we go. Do you want to de-pit and throw a couple of these beautiful donut peaches into the blender for me?